FBI, open up!
All week long.
All rise, order in the court. It's time, and I believe Dallas House, you're absolutely right about that. Anybody else has their Coke ready to go? Pop top. Emily stole a bunch of stuff from her dad and stepmom, where she stayed over the weekend. Came back with disgusting. Who buys cherry Pop-Tarts? They're disgusting.
Maybe in a pinch. Maybe in a pinch.
Ugh.
Just maybe, though.
I had one today. We got a case live Zoom court drama unfolding in front of our very eyes. We're starting here. We're jumping over to something else that, as they say on the old live PD, that just happened moments ago.
Still live at the moment, for sure.
I had to back it up. Mike, you ought to back it all the way up. But the thing is, with these lives, when they don't save them, you guys have seen it. It just gets cut in front of our very eyes. We're like, there's nothing that we can do about it.
So that's one of the dangers of everything we do being live.
Yeah.
Also, to the people that say, just pause it. We can pause it here and there. Yes, we can. But if we keep pausing it a lot, there's another chance we won't see the end because we've paused too much.
Yeah, when they when they cut the feed goes away. No matter where you're at on it, it doesn't stay for you, which is.
Look at this cool guy. Got his shirt tucked in, got something in his pocket there. I don't know what that was.
He's guilty, obviously. All right, so a little backstory to where we're jumping to. What was happening? You said
classic argument about the property lines, putting up fences, hanging things up they aren't supposed to be hanging up, that kind of thing. And of course, old ladies involved, older women. But like I told Creed, I think at least 2 cameras are on witness protection because I don't know what's going on with them.
From the record down there, those people had to go through the
Terry
same
and Mike G
stuff for many years. And I'm 59 years old. I'm not about to be 60. I don't have that kind of time and energy to devote to this. It's already been very damaging to my physical and mental health.
Oh my God.
Now, in this original petition, again, filed before you knew anything about this West Lynn matter.
Did you hear that call?
One of your concerns was this water shutoff issue.
Dick Harris?
Not the water.
I read a declaration from I believe it's Terry Cullinane.
Agreed.
You have no proof or no knowledge for certain that my client actually shut that water off. Is that correct?
We still don't have a camera.
Terry doesn't have an attorney
because it's been tricky to figure out how to put it up to point exactly the right way and still be able to reach it. So no, we don't, but it's her lot. So presumably it was her because we didn't go over there and turn it off.
Real quick, this guy's been taking about 20 minutes to get it. Nobody's moved. Nobody's going to even help him with the door.
Submitted regarding this bamboo fence. It looks like the fence, obviously it's along a mutual boundary. Is that correct? The boundary that separates your lots.
It's not actually the lot line. It is a line that, had we known a year ago what we know now, we never would have agreed to, just so that she didn't have to move her rose bushes.
Yeah.
So yes, the bamboo fence is along the unfortunately agreed to property line. And that was taken down at the front by her. We have her photograph doing just that.
Now, there's some mention of things on the fence, and
she a castaway?
Like you included that in petition, so you view that as some type of form of harassment. For
the guy that's with Susan, that's
Rose,
right? Isn't that Dwight's brother?
Brother, yeah.
She's attaching things to the fence posts. And it has caused damage to our fence. She's done it multiple times. She put them up, Then she read my declaration.
Giant
she took them
anchors for
down,
boats and
and
such.
then I don't know, about a week ago, she had someone put them back up.
So she put up a sign that says
So even
bar
though this
always
side
open.
of this fence faces her side, you don't want anything placed on that fence. Is that correct?
It's bamboo and posts. It can't take the weight of that. And the bamboo from all
Put up
the
a real fence
that
then.
she's done around the top of it has already broken in a bunch of places, which you can see in the photographs.
Okay.
Just
What
like
are
digging
some-
a giant hole like 2 inches from the foundation of our porch. She's
They
doing
did
it
not.
to mess with us.
And you mentioned this is this like a manufactured home community basically?
Yes, it is.
What a nice way of
And
saying
Is there a
trailer park.
foundation to your house?
I was thinking that too.
Most
I don't know what you
manufactured
mean by
homes I
that.
know.
Savage Disney dude,
I don't know
welcome.
what you mean by that.
Well, usually a manufactured home is placed on some type of blocks or something, or on some type of a trailer there.
Yo,
Is
house
there an
on
actual
blocks, yo.
stone or concrete foundation to your home?
Not to the home. I think there's a foundation on the porch at the front.
And what the hell's that got to
What I
do with
can see.
anything?
I'm not in construction, so not the expert on those things.
So you don't actually know if there's a foundation, is that correct?
I don't think we have a foundation, but I
I know where the water
don't
cutoff
see how
is.
that is at all relevant.
Well, your testimony and your petition claim that she was digging next to your
She wants to kiss
foundation. So
her
I'm
ass.
trying to establish whether or not there's actually a foundation.
She's digging right by our house and right by the foundation to the porch.
She
which is just a
tunneling
few
under
feet
like a
from the
mole man?
bank of the
Yeah.
Bud Bay.
Okay.
Which can slide and has slid in the past.
Okay. And then there's this issue. I'm just trying to go through point for
Why is
point
there so
what you guys
smoky in her
mentioned
house?
in your concerns there.
Left your mic on,
Blocking of
Zero.
the water view. You feel that's a form of harassment, that things, it sounded like maybe an umbrella was put up or some type of a screen. Is that correct?
That was over a year ago now. That within a week of moving in here, we realized that her encroaching behavior was going to make us need to build a fence. So we had the manager come down because he kept telling me there was already a
Is that
string
Terry's
line
wife?
on the border, and he came down and there wasn't one because she had taken it down. So he got us to agree to this other line that is not actually the lot line last year. And when that happened, like the very next day, yeah, she tarped the whole side of her trailer all the way to the front and then stuck a garden umbrella out the corner and then opened it just to block my view of what used to be my office that faced her house so that I could see the water out that side. Now, because of all this, we don't even look out the windows. We don't even open the curtains. We just don't even, we pretend that side doesn't have any windows
If
at
you
all.
lived in the
That's
right
what
trailer
we've
park,
been
you'd learn how to
used
just
to
aluminum
watching
foil
by
all the
this.
windows.
You mentioned that was over a year ago. Is that
Full
then no
RV.
longer an issue?
Oh, she does it on and off, whatever her mood is. But like I said, we don't even use that side of our house at all anymore. So it doesn't really matter.
In my understanding, she has a hot tub on that side of the that side of the home.
Yeah.
Comes
Or
a
some
trailer
type
park.
of tub there.
As
It's a
far as I
party.
know, I don't know. I don't look over there.
Okay.
Sure, Terry.
Is it possible that was that those screens were placed there so that she could bathe in that hot tub without being surveilled by the two of you?
Look at her.
I doubt it. We're not interested in surveilling her whatsoever. We have no desire to see her in her hot tub. We just need something on the water controls only so that we know if she shuts it off again and we have the evidence to show the management.
Your Honor, may I interject here?
Who dis?
No.
No.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Cullinane.
The attorney
I'll
said
ask you to
no.
Hold your comments until we hear directly from you. Thank you.
All right, that was good.
The attorney said no.
Oh, and I would add that cover thing only just went up recently. If that was her concern, she would have put something up on her side of the line a long time ago.
Okay.
I don't understand the tarp thing. do
Moving
you?
on to this
The tarp's blocking her view, but he's saying it's because she wants privacy.
Removal
Oh,
of the fence.
God.
You
Likes
said
to get
you filed pictures of it.
in
Was
the
is
hot
that the
tub.
pictures with my client with scissors and zip ties?
Yes, it was.
Is that what you're referring to? Okay.
Scissor
Now,
me
you've seen
timber.
her, if you've been living there for some time, you've seen her zip tie probably numerous things around in the yard.
No,
that-
I have not. I have not seen her zip tie anything. I don't pay attention to what she does in her yard. She may or may not have zip tied other things, but she was standing right in front of our fence with zip ties, the color that we had our former contractor use specifically, and scissors in her hands with a big smirk on her face. So to try to imply that she's doing other stuff is frankly ludicrous.
Yes,
Now,
Creedence.
in your petition, you mentioned
Luda.
in your statement. Bam! The right paragraph. It's under what's listed as section 17, past incidences, and it's on page 12 of 14. You mentioned that about this fence, and you wrote a quick sentence there that says her worker removed it, but in the
Zip ties
process
for
damaged
the
bamboo
the
fencing
tornadoes. The
and hired
tornadoes will
someone to
get you.
put up.
Zip tied the trailer down.
Is that the same fence that you're talking about then?
No, it's not. That is bamboo, because again, she would run to the corner of her yard and pretend to prune her bushes or something while she would look up at our porch and say things at us and just generally eavesdrop on anybody who was out on the porch.
Whether or not have
So
video.
there's a fencing that was put up when they built a wall in front of our house after the bank gave way. And they put what do you call it? Cyclone fencing. And they put that very much inside the property line. It goes to the corner of our house, which you can see in some of the pictures. And just to increase our sense of privacy, I had someone put up some bamboo fencing along that so that hopefully she wouldn't be able to see through and look up at us on our porch. So that's not the same fencing at all. No.
Okay. And then you mentioned in
Susan,
your
the seductress.
first colloquy talking about this that you guys snapped. What did you mean by that?
I mean that after months and months of trying to get the park management to get her to move her things from over the agreed property line, which I never would have agreed to had I known this, so that we could put up a fence, and having them not do anything. And our former contractor, who, as you can see, is cozy with Ms. Hopkins now, would not move the things either. So I just went over there and moved them so he could, because he was putting the fence closer even than the quote unquote agreed property line. And so I just went and moved the stuff out of the way myself so he would put it on the agreed property line.
FYI, cyclone fencing is
Those,
nothing more than
are you
chain
referring to
link
the videos
fence
of you
because
entering
of
Ms.
its
Hopkins' property?
durability during, gale force winds and
correct.
such.
Now, during that time, you swore at my client, Ms. Hopkins. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes, I swore at her. What'd you call her?
You
Again,
also
after many, many months of provocation, all of those incidents have been detailed in my various declarations and
Right.
getting no relief from anybody.
and you mentioned
We're all going to need
relevant,
some day drinking
um,
after this one, I think,
well,
Iowa
obviously
Lisa.
that. Did you at some point place a sign that says with a middle finger towards Susan's property, saying very much, basically saying "fuck you very much, Susan"? Was that you or your husband?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the record. That was after she very nearly got our cleaner, who has 5 children to feed, towed, instead of doing the neighborly thing, which would be to knock on our door and say, hey, does that car belong to you? And by the way, that wasn't blocking her house at all. It was the other direction behind the house of our neighbors we get along with just great, like everybody else, who had actually said you can park behind our house if you want, because it's not really in the street. It's kind of a corner where there's some gravel and stuff. So it was completely out of the way. It wasn't blocking her at all. And then she went and ran past my husband the opposite direction again from her house and brushed past him so she could take a picture of her handiwork of having because by the time we figured out what was going on, there was already a tow notice on the windshield of my cleaner's car, and she was about to be imminently towed, which we had no idea of until
She's a
that moment.
cleaner.
Now, you
Wow.
included that in your petition. Why do
Trailer
you
doesn't
believe
clean
that,
itself, Creed.
my client's decision to call a tow truck about an illegally parked car has anything to do with harassment towards you?
She didn't call the tow truck. She reported the car to the management, and rather
Just
than
a few of
knock
the
on
beautiful
our door,
signs that were
the
placed.
manager was texting me, which I didn't see because I was busy working with the cleaner, organizing, downsizing our house.
So you
Um,
disagreed with her decision, how she dealt with that, basically. Is that fair?
Yeah, none of my other neighbors would report to the management. They would, knock on their neighbor's door and say, hey, does that car belong to you?
And because you disagreed with that, that's why you put this sign up?
Because she clearly did it just to be a pain in our ass. And, it was like the umpity ump thing that she had done. And it was just like one step too far. So yeah. did I get
Umpity
mad?
ump.
Yeah. But I
Umpity
took those
ump
signs
ump.
down within a week. The only one that I've left up says, stay on your own property and do not talk to us.
Wait, I want to make sure I understand. You left this sign up for a week?
Yeah.
Busy behind the judge.
You have no idea what this harassment
Seriously.
has been like this whole last year. It has been insane. Like I said, it has completely ruined living here for us. And it's been our dream for 50 years to live on the water. We finally got it. And she's just tortured us
Trailer
so
park
much
on the
it makes
water.
her Miserable.
Trailer
Miserable.
park on the
no other
wall.
questions.
My dream for 50 years to live in this trailer park.
And I reiterate, we have no desire to have any contact. If we never saw her face again in our entire lives, we would be thrilled.
Jennifer, I'm not sure.
It's protective
Thank
order
you, Ms.
court.
Cullinane. I'd like to speak now with Mr. Cullinane, Terry Cullinane. And sir, I'd like to ask you to provide any additional information
Mr. Terry.
that you may have. I know you've been present and listening to the petition and the discussion today. I'd like to ask if you have anything additional to supplement the testimony provided by Ms. Cullinane today. I'd ask that you provide that now.
Take his wing out.
Oh, there he is. Dressed appropriately. This is going to be good.
I don't know why our camera is blurry, but hi, Your Honor, thank you. There are a number of things I'd like to share with you, but to my wife's point, it has really changed the tenor of living here, and not to the good. The example is she has another neighbor on the other side who is probably one of the nicest people you could ever meet, and she's considering selling because of her. A couple things were said
You had her in there to talk about that.
in the conversation with Vicky that I
Hearsay.
have some clarification. Her attorney asked about the hot tub. The hot tub is on, it's not where the umbrella would have been. It's at the other end of her lot. It's close to the back of our house. So it has nothing to do with the view. What she's doing with the umbrellas, she's clearly doing that to impede our view. That's what she was doing. And the fact of the matter is we just recently took a step on the south side of our deck, which faces her property. We put up a barrier so we don't have to look at her anymore. And actually it's been quite helpful. But her patterns of behavior are consistent. What she will do, I'll give you an example. I'm a licensed insurance agent. Every year I have to recertify with all the carriers that I represent. And I have an associate that came over and we do this together. And for whatever reason, she complained, we're sitting out here talking on my deck, talking. And she complained that the noise level was too high. Then she started up with her singing. She'll come to the edge of our deck and she'll start singing. It's just, it's obviously intentional. This is what she does.
Okay, I'd like to clarify that. The incident happened 2 consecutive years, right after we moved here in
Ms.
July.
Cullinane, Ms.
Yes.
Cullinane, I'm going to interrupt for just a second. I'm trying to give Mr. Cullinane an opportunity. You'll have an opportunity in rebuttal to provide any follow-up
There you
information
go, Jennifer.
into the petition for
Nailed it.
Ms. Hopkins. So, but I'd like to have Mr. Cullinane provide, and if we need an additional clarification, we can go from there.
Okay, Your Honor.
That's in the state of Washington.
What my wife was trying to say, which she has a point. This is the second year this has happened. We did this last year, just shortly after we moved in. She did the same thing, and she did it again this year. Yeah, I mean, at the time, she could see onto our deck from her deck. She can't anymore because we put up a barrier, fortunately. Now, I want to clarify something
Snide remarks.
Relative to her cutting down or removing part of the bamboo fence. I saw her doing it. That is why I started taking pictures of her with.
But my flip phone won't take
in
video.
her hand and the zip ties that she had
Obviously,
cut
he's great at
to loosen
technology.
our fence.
Obviously.
I caught her in the act. Is the reality of it. And
Trimming a
interestingly
rose
enough,
bush, if you know what I
the
mean.
way that
Judge.
the whole thing is kind of played out, after our initial hearing, I decided, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll do a little background check on our neighbor. Well, wow. What did I find out? First thing I found was a mugshot. In fact, her arrest record, that she'd been arrested numerous times for criminal trespass, violated her probation. There's a clear pattern of behavior here, Your Honor, and it's not stopping. She's very manipulative. The water situation, my wife and I went to Lake Chelan in late May for a week vacation. We had a gentleman that stayed here to watch our home. Okay. Turns out for 18 hours, the water was shut off, and he was afraid to call us because he didn't want to disturb us. He knew we were on vacation. Ultimately, our neighbor suggested to him that he contact us. He did. We called the park management. They came over and turned the water back on. In another incident, a couple of months later, she turned off our water to our front yard. And, you know, it could have been someone else. Yeah, sure it could. I think we know, based upon her history, her criminal record, that this is likely her. And we're just tired of it. The thing with the tow truck, that had absolutely no bearing on her whatsoever. None. And actually not even in front of our place. It was in front of our neighbors to the opposite side of her. She called, reported it, and there was a warning. I mean, the tow truck, the towing notice was on the window, and she ran with her camera to take a picture of this as if she was proud of it. Yeah, she ran past me. And this whole thing, it's just getting ridiculous. We just want,
obviously, hence the reason
we
you're
don't
in
want
court.
anything to do with her. And we're asking the court to just give us the ability to have
To shoot her.
That's all we want.
The
don't want anything to
ability
do with
to beat her to death in her sleep.
And, you know, if you look at our records, neither Vicky nor I have ever had any orders on us, ever.
Vicky and Terry.
He, on the other hand,
Never had any orders.
I don't even know how many, but I know she has a criminal record, and it's pretty significant. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you for your comments today, sir. A couple follow-up questions from me, and then likewise, I'll allow Mr. Drury an opportunity to have some questions,
Like
which
you nailed it,
also
honey.
provide you both the opportunity to ask questions of Ms. Hopkins when it's her turn.
Hi, Mello.
However,
Hey, Mello.
for you, sir, has Ms. Hopkins ever called you any names, used profanity
ma'am.
with you, followed you, done anything like that, those type of behaviors?
She touched my pecker.
She, anytime I'm standing on the deck, now she can't do it anymore because of the barrier we put up, which, by the way, the barrier blocks part of our view, which is the reason why we bought this place. But we put it up so that we don't have to deal with her menacing. She'll stand on her deck and just stare and glare at us.
God, Lacey.
And then if we have company on the deck, she'll
What a
try to
throwback.
engage in conversation. It's like no privacy. She has no boundaries, none.
That looks
Okay,
like an
has she ever
American
engaged in any of
flag.
those activities on your property? Or I mean, I know we're talking lot on your lot, sir.
Not to the best of my knowledge.
She looks at us
We don't
menacingly.
know. And that's why we
Christy?
bought a security system.
Oh my God.
Okay. And then.
Why do you not have any
why
videos
did
of her
you
then?
Yeah,
get a
where's all this
variety of
evidence?
asks or requests of the court if the court were to grant the petition in terms of the distance requirement, no cross orders? Are those your same request on the order as well?
Well, yeah, there's one other request I'd like to make, Your Honor. I want to have access to surveil the water switches. What we want to do is put a water switch within our own home and then lock the master water switch so that she can no longer access it.
Court order to do that?
In the meantime, I want to
That's
make sure
something
that
like
we
the
can see
landlord would do,
whether or not it's being tampered with.
or the
This is our
board
water.
company.
This company
Dick Harris, thank you.
talked about the barrier there on the side and wanted that removed. So, okay, sir, before I turn it over to Mr. Drury, any additional information you'd like the court to consider that we've not had an opportunity to discuss?
Oh,
She took a dump on our lawn, Your Honor.
no, that's it.
She's one
Thank
step
you.
away from that.
Mr.
though.
Drury, go ahead. Just a couple of questions, please. I'd like to limit the questions to any additional
Of course.
information that you.
Sure. And just to clarify, Mr. Cullinane, you indicated in your testimony you can't be sure it's my client turning off the water. Is that correct?
That is correct. I don't have a picture of her like I do with her cutting the fence.
Right. But you also indicate that based on her criminal record, it has to be her. That's the conclusion you want the court to draw, that based on her criminal record.
That's what I believe. Yeah, that's what I believe.
And that's really why you guys submitted this criminal history material from another state.
Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Her
No.
pattern of behavior is exactly that. And you're sitting there telling me that if I went out and shot someone and I shot someone
In
else,
season.
my past history wouldn't come into play? Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Her behavior and her history is totally relevant. This is what she does. And this is not something that's all of a sudden. That record goes on for years. She was arrested, what, 4 times?
No, more than that.
More than that? She spent 10 days in jail for this behavior.
So she must have done it then. That's your point.
Can you just punch Bradley? He's a little
You
bit.
figure it
He's right at your. Like you could just.
Understood. That's all I have
I
here.
don't want to mess with Bradley. He's
Thank
dead
you very
inside.
much. So,
It really is.
as the parties know, this is a dual case. We've heard now on the 172 matter. Before the court rules on the petition there, I'd like to hear the presentation from the cross petitioner about the reasons that she seeks a competing order or corollary order in this case, and then the court intends to rule on the entirety of the request today. So, Mr. Drury, I will turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Arnold.
May I speak?
Ms. Hopkins, I'll be asking you questions if that's okay. I'm sorry, was that Mrs. Cullinane that asked that, or I thought that was Mrs. Hopkins that asked us?
It was. You're
Mrs.
right.
Hopkins asked to speak.
Okay.
Pay attention, Brad.
So I guess, I'm sorry, counsel, just before we jump in, I'll just say that this is case number 22-0001.
Susan's got some
We're now
jugs.
discussing the petition by Ms. Hopkins for
They're
protection.
low-hanging
order
fruit.
against,
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Cullinane, and this is a cross petition and companion case to the one we just.
It should be
discussed.
good.
Good morning, Mrs. Hopkins, or Ms. Hopkins. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good. All right. I wanted to jump
What a
right
bitch.
in. How long have you been living at your current residence?
2.5 years.
And how long have it sounds like the Cullinanes are your neighbor. Is that correct?
For 13 months.
Thank you. And is it true that you guys share, or that on your lot is like a water?
So Susan was there
control for both
first?
Your lot and the Cullinanes lot?
Yes, on each lot line, there's one for each neighbor. So on the other side of me, the faucets are on that neighbor's and we get along just fine. There's no problem. Also, in his declaration, sworn declaration, Todd Floyd said that he is the one who turned it off.
Okay. Well,
Accidentally, of course.
let me just get to that question instead of skipping ahead. So have you ever intentionally turned off the Cullinane's water?
Never unintentionally or intentionally. I've never touched that faucet.
Have you made any preparations or anything to identify which spigot goes to the Cullinanes and which goes to
Sounds
your
like
house?
Susan was there.
Well, yeah.
Sorry. A few days
Damn, who
after,
tried to say something?
apparently, I don't know when
Wow.
they got home, but I was talking to my handyman, Todd Floyd, about it. And he said, oh my God, I didn't get how that works. It is complicated. And he said, I worried about wasting water and I turned everything off. I had no idea that they weren't both.
Susan
this
has such a
place.
lovely voice too.
So
He does
I
very
said, well,
gentle.
make sure that doesn't happen again ever. And I took red tape and drew and wrapped it, their faucet. Also, they built a solid fence before they did have access to the faucet, and that would have been fine with me. But they built a solid fence, which blocked their only access to it. And now they're justifying coming through my yard.
Oh, somebody got back
Any
from lunch.
condition I'm in my privacy in my yard, and they can show up anytime. That's
Then the other issue, then, if I can skip ahead, is this fence. And I believe we're talking about this bamboo fence or this fencing between your property. Have you ever
you just
removed
say property?
intentionally or
Property?
otherwise a piece of the
Property?
Cullinane's fence or
Property?
ever attempted to damage that fence in any way?
no.
Okay. Do you,
However, there are blackberries that are pushing it farther and farther onto my lot, and those blackberries are taking hold, and they're the reason
Easy.
Is that what she
I
calls the
can't
kids
use my
around?
property anymore because they won't control them.
okay. Do you know what the Cullinanes are talking about as far as hanging things on the fence, or, you know, what does that mean to you when you heard that testimony?
I'm not sure. I have a green plastic lattice on my side that the roses are climbing, and they put their fence right next to it, even though it's 6 inches over the line. Who cares? So
They do.
when
Obviously.
my roses climb, then I have to suspend them, but I do it from my own plastic part, not from anything to do with their fence.
Okay.
And I could also, when you asked me about the shade, then sorry.
And then there's been some discussion in testimony of a hole or some type of digging around what the Cullinanes, I think, termed the sort of the foundation.
Is the microwave on the other side, the judge?
Yeah.
And that was mention of that in the petition as well. Can you explain what that refers to, or if you need another follow-up question for that? But I'm wondering, you know, basically, have you been digging around, attempting to
hidden treasure,
I guess, negatively impact a deck foundation belonging to the Cullinanes?
I have fibromyalgia. It's extremely painful and weakening. I don't run anywhere and I don't dig anything. Not only that, as the videos that I submitted to the court originally and again clearly show they criminally trespassed, and Vicky was trying to take the foundation block out. It's clear as day in the video. She's trying to take it out. That foundation block, I don't have the park installed a barrier to try to, this whole park is sliding off. I don't have that protection.
it's falling in the ocean.
So those foundation blocks were actually.
Ronnie, you know how California's going to break off one day and just be an island?
Left of my
Our
bank,
parks like that.
and yet she is digging them up from my yard. And yeah, that is what they're talking about.
Are you referring to the video exhibits you submitted?
Yes, it's more than once. It shows that they were digging up my foundation blocks.
Okay. And then there was mentioned some blockage of views. And I believe one item was an umbrella. I'm imagining
Kind of
like a
on
yard
Susan's
umbrella,
side a little bit here, just a little
Yeah.
bit.
or
The needle's just a
like
little over.
screen of
Yeah,
some
just
type.
nudged it.
Have you been have you installed any types of items in an attempt to block the Cullinane's water views or any other views?
Absolutely not. This is the hottest August on record in recorded history here. And I have to put up umbrellas to protect tender plants.
Just
that are
hearsay.
planted in the spring. And the umbrellas don't block their view. They simply shade my tender plants.
Have you put up
Everybody
screens?
does that. Everybody
My
here does
tender
that.
plants.
Now, my understanding is you have a hot tub
Would you like to come
somewhere on
over?
the property or some type of a pool.
It's
Is
good
that
for my
correct?
fibromyalgia.
The hot tub is a foot away from the faucets. So if they were going to monitor their faucets, I would have no privacy left.
Have you
I
put
don't
up
mind if they monitor the faucets, but I know they've been watching me.
Have you put
Lusting.
up screens to block others' views while you're using the hot tub?
Never. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the view of the water of the bay. Yeah, I experimented. My handyman and I experimented with how to create
Sexually.
privacy for me. It didn't work because of the wind, so I took it down. But I will put up another one so that I can't be seen in my own private
Hot tub. Okay.
bathing suit.
All right. Now you
Your Majesty, I'm
mentioned
sorry.
this issue with the videos. Can you briefly describe what happened? Have you ever seen the Cullinanes enter your property?
Yes.
Okay. When about was that?
I know that one time when they trespassed was July 6th, my son's birthday. Before that,
Happy birthday.
I videotaped them, and they knew I was videotaping them as they dug up my yard, broke pots.
Happy birthday!
And they, on our way out, and they came
no,
through
mate.
my carport to get there. It's not like they just reached over. They came through my carport. I have an eyewitness that backs that up, and I have those videos, which are indisputable criminal trespass. I called the sheriff, and they're looking into pressing criminal trespass charges on the Cullinane.
Was there other times?
Talks a good game,
where
man.
they were not there that the Cullinanes trespassed?
Yes.
And when about was that?
That would have been July 5th or 6th.
Okay.
My son and I, he stays here, and we went out for his birthday, and their own handyman watched them vandalize my property. He saw it from maybe 6 feet away because he was working on their
He didn't stop them?
bamboo fence, which the wind here is 3 times harder than anywhere else in Olympia. That's why those fences look floppy.
Was that Mr. Floyd then?
No, that would be Cameron Pinso.
That witnessed that? Okay. And that's your witness there today?
Yes, and he wrote a signed declaration
Thank you.
backing up everything.
Now, there was some mention of zip ties and scissors witnessed by Mr. Cullinane. Are zip ties and scissors, when he witnessed that, is that unusual for you to have in your yard, or is that, did you?
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm cutting
Go
you
ahead.
off.
I didn't ask the question very well. I just meant, is that unusual to have those items?
Whose
in your
attorney
yard?
is
Absolutely
Bradley?
not. I have 5 pairs of scissors from Harbor Freight, and I keep one along with a trowel and everything else in my garden.
Okay.
coat.
What do you do with those zip ties?
Those zip ties, again, the wind here is 3 times harder. It's outrageous. It is blowing off people's awnings.
Oh
So
my.
I have a plastic basket that I collect weeds into so that I can then haul them away. The basket is very lightweight plastic, and especially when it doesn't have weeds in it, I have zip ties permanently affixed there. And then I use bungee cords to
Well,
anchor that basket.
so right.
Is that,
What?
sorry, there's an individual on his cell phone zooming in that probably needs to be muted.
You said that's a lie.
The phone number ending 390, I'm going to ask if you can hold any comments. I'm not sure if that's Mr. Cullinane or if anybody, a member of the public, but asked during the hearing that you keep all commentary to yourself. And if the court needs to, we'll have to put you on mute.
Your Honor, that was not me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it was the phone. I'm not sure if they're involved here or not, but is that because, I mean, I'm guessing your waterfront or water adjacent yard, is there a lot of wind there?
That's a good point.
Yes, unbelievable gale force winds.
There was also, and I don't think this came out in testimony, but I did see it in the petitions or in some of the supplementary pictures filed by the Cullinanes, that there was allegations of a fence post being removed, like a green, a standard metal, like green and white tipped fence post. Did you ever remove a fence post from the Cullinanes' yard or from any fence posts that was in their possession or utilized by the Cullinanes?
No, I did not. I have a pile of such fence posts. One of them happened to be standing up in a bush.
Okay.
Not
And
the
are you
bush.
familiar? Did you see the pictures the Cullinanes filed regarding that fence post issue?
My goodness, there are over 20 pictures.
Okay.
No, I'm not sure I did.
Okay.
We've got bush.
And also, I was never served with any of those pictures, so
Okay.
I'm not sure what has been submitted or not.
You also filed as Exhibit 7 this picture of it looks like a crudely drawn middle finger saying very much Susan, basically saying fuck you very much Susan, I think is the clear implication. The Cullinanes acknowledged that they placed that in your viewing area for a week. How did that make you feel?
Afraid. That on top of especially Terry Cullinane's physical behavior and Vicky Cullinane's, it's more than just swearing at me. I've never heard such language, and I taught high school. So yeah, I'm really afraid of people who put signs in their windows, poster-sized signs telling me. And also, you know, I have lots of friends here. I want them to be able to come over and not have to see that.
Okay. What about the entries into the multiple entries into your property? Did that make you feel afraid at all, or well, tell me how it made you feel.
Well, in one of them, I chuckle a bit, but that's what we do. We have to laugh so we won't cry. I had to laugh so I wouldn't yell. I didn't say a word. I've never said a cross word. And yet there they are right there in my yard in broad daylight, throwing my things around and digging up my property. So yeah, that's frightening. And yeah, they're big, loud people and they're frightening anyway.
Oh my. And fuzzy. Very fuzzy people too.
I think that's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. So, counsel, I gave you an opportunity to cross-examine both the Cullinanes after they testified.
That's that
Those who are
pole in the
obviously
bush
there's,
he was talking about.
An order
Looks
in
like a
place,
white tipped penis to me.
today.
It was a white tipped fence, Creedence.
Of course, they were at the full hearing. It's a little bit awkward in terms of having that order in place, obviously, but I think the court is vested with great latitude in terms of allowing information to come in. And as I said at the front end, I'd like to give everybody an opportunity to fully flush out their factual record before the court makes a decision. So what I'd like to do is if Ms. Cullinane has any additional questions, maybe direct them to you, Mr. Drury, and then allow your client to answer that. And I know it's kind of not a perfect solution, but I believe it's an appropriate solution. And the court, like I said, can suspend application of the civil rules as this is a special proceeding. So Ms. Cullinane, do you have any follow-up questions just based on the testimony that Ms. Hopkins provided? If so, I'd like you to ask that question to Mr. Drury.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Drury, is your client claiming that the hole with pallets and cinder blocks in it, which is in the photographs, was entirely on her property? Is that what she's claiming?
And then you've heard that question, Ms. Hopkins. You're free to answer that question.
Everything there is on my property because they have a solid wall on the line, a solid wall, and I'm about 10 feet below that because my bank is giving way, and just the topography.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot what Vicky asked.
I think you answered the question. So
Okay.
she asked if that was on your property, and you said yes. Do you have another
100%.
question, Ms. Bell?
I don't have a single thing that isn't all on my property.
Thank you.
Good point.
Ms. Cullinane, do you have anything additional?
Yeah. Are you claiming that we had access to our water controls at the back? And that there was not a solid fence there already with no gate in it at the time we moved in July of 2021?
The contractor who built the fence is right here. He just built that fence 2 months ago.
I thought they
Before
just
that,
built
the people
barns.
who lived there before the Cullinanes, they and I got along fine because there was no fence and she would reach over and do what she needed to do, but
Before I
they
mowed her.
don't really need to ever be.
Before I
turned
ran them off.
I don't know what to say.
So you're both claiming that you got along well with Deb Armstrong, who the former owner, when you
I think I
tagged
got it.
a garden ornament to the side of this house, that you got along just fine with her when you put a fire pit right at the
We're
edge
talking
of
about
the
the
side
faucet.
Hold on. I'm going to object to the
Okay,
following.
ladies
can't
and
talk to
gentlemen,
each
the
other.
court's going to interject here. So I'd like to keep this very civil. Like I said, it's a little bit awkward in terms of allowing communication, but I think that communication is
Shadow?
important to the extent that I gave the same opportunity to Mr. Drury and his client. So what I'd like to do, Ms. Cullinane, is have you ask your question and then have Ms. Hopkins answer that question and then move on to the next one. So I'd like to not talk about instances prior to your moving in next door. And anything prior to that is going to be outside the court's consideration for today. So Ms. Cullinane, I'll ask that you ask your next question.
Are you claiming that you get along just fine with Ellen Becker, who I have witnessed you eavesdropping and spying on when I was speaking to her? You're saying you get along just fine with her, the woman who's planning to move away because she can't take it anymore?
I'm going
Well, none
to
of that is true.
hold on, Susan.
Hearsay.
Please. Sorry. I'm going to
Okay, and
object to that.
So, and that's fine. The court will sustain that objection. Ms. Cullinane, I'd like to focus just on the conduct between Ms. Hopkins and you, and the follow-up questions have to be limited to what she
Well,
testified.
Vicky should have
to.
brought these
today.
people in. They needed to. 'cause
Okay.
they're
Are you
losing
denying
money.
that you attach things to our fence? That we have photographs of the attachments to our fence? You're denying that you attach those things to our fence? The ones in the photographs?
That's my fence that things are attached to.
Oh, so the bamboo fence that we paid a contractor to install, that you took the front down of, that we have you on camera taking the front down of, that's your fence? You're claiming that's your fence?
Well, no, you don't have that. There's no evidence for anything you've claimed. And the contractor is here and saying that he wasn't able to install it very well because it was dangerous for you to tell him to go out on the cliff.
Yeah, all right. Hold on, Susan.
I would object, Your Honor, that if you're not taking testimony from witnesses other than ourselves, then I would object to any mention of.
She said that the little garden
something
thing
known
damaged her
contractor.
fence, by the
I
way.
would
Remember that?
add our
Yeah.
ex-contractor with whom we are in a dispute over who owes whom money and the quality of the work. very suspect.
Okay, so
Ooh.
thank you. So the court has concerns about how the hearing is devolving between the communication between the parties. I'm not going to hear testimony based from additional witnesses who are not the parties. The court does not find that it is material or necessary.
Well, that just backfired for
Provide
Vicky now.
declarations for the court
Big
to
time.
consider.
Yeah.
So, given where we're currently at, the court has heard a variety of information and testimony from multiple parties based on both petitions. What I'd like to do is give
He's
first
ready.
the Cullinanes a 1-minute summation, and then an opportunity for Mr. Drury to provide a 1-minute summation as well.
Oh,
And
damn.
then the court will make its ruling. So that's where we're at the moment. That's going to be the court's order. So, Ms. Cullinane, why don't you go ahead and tell the court briefly, on behalf of yourself and Mr. Cullinane, what you seek,
Keep
and
Terry out of here.
reasons the court should give that. Again, that should be a very brief summation.
Your Honor, before we do that, though, you said I would have an opportunity to do,
Hell.
not cross-examination, but space in the word. But anyway, clarification of my husband's testimony. And I wanted to add, by the way, that it is noted by the court in West Lynn that Ms. Hopkins has a pattern of playing the victim, but is not the victim, that the records in West Lynn only go back to 2015 because of records destruction rules, but there's reference to no contact orders from other neighbors going back, and those neighbors going back even farther. The first
And that's
year.
fine. Thank you, Ms. Cullinane. Thank you for that. What I'm interested in is the course of conduct that has occurred between you and Ms. Hopkins as you've been neighbors here in the state of Washington.
Well, as I said, she has attached things to our fence. We have pictures of it. It is damaging our fence. The fence is actually legally entirely on our lot. What she is claiming as the fence line is not the fence line. It was one that was installed when the wall was installed in front of our house. And she is definitely engages in stalking behavior all the time. So we're asking for the anti-stalking language to be added, asking that no contact with us and our guests, as was done in West Lynn, add some sort of a distance requirement, even if it's a small one, from our property line. Include that she cannot shut off our water controls, which we do need to shut off from time to time, and that we need to have access to our water controls.
Do you cut your water off a lot? Because I don't.
That she can't
I don't
put
even
up
know where
barriers
to.
that prevent us from being able to surveil our water shutoffs, include both myself and my husband, and not enter cross orders, because again, we have to be able to shut our water on and off as needed. Not very often, but every once in a while. And that we have no history of any kind of no contact orders anywhere, anytime. She has lots of history of that. She's not afraid of us. She's just playing the victim, as she has clearly a long history of doing. And that, yeah, we lost our temper on a couple of occasions. Oh, and by the way, we only went over there once to move stuff off the property line. I have no interest in being on her property whatsoever for any reason. I just did that because nobody else would get her to move her stuff.
All right, I'm Team Susan.
On the actual fence.
I'm 100% Team Susan here.
On our lot, legally.
I'd be afraid that
and because I
Harry
think
and Vicky might own a pew and do something very bad.
Invites contact herself. And we don't need this kind of grief. We have a business to run. We have lives to live. This has been absorbing my attention for weeks and weeks now. It's enough is enough. We need some peace.
Come on, lady.
We just need peace and privacy our own. We have no interest in watching Ms. Hopkins. She has no evidence that we've ever been watching her. The only time we see her is when she's watching us. And so we're asking that only one order be entered and that have those provisions so that we get some realistic protection, because
It's got to be a push, right?
Times since the first
they both want one
order was entered, and they always say there's nothing we can do, which makes the current order absolutely useless to us.
Thank you, Ms. Cullinane. Mr. Drew, I'll give you the same opportunity, a couple of minutes to sum up your position, your request for the court. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, unlawful harassment, as the court knows, means a knowing, willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, harasses, or is detrimental to such person, and then, of course, serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. So a lot of times we look for course of conduct.
Scared tech.
Regarding my client's petition,
intimidation factor.
You know, the Cullinanes, just taking testimony from the Cullinanes,
it's quite a big dude.
Establishes the need for an order. They readily admit they hung this sign, fuck you very much, Susan, pointed out the property. I've seen this type of behavior before in other cases. The only point of that is to annoy, alarm, or harass your neighbor. There's no other point. Maybe your reasoning behind it is anger, but that's not a defense to this type of activity to keep this up. Why did they do that? Because my client was involved with a third party, and they disagreed with my client's decision about calling, the park about illegally parked vehicles. And they decided to do this action. Her videos that she submitted, I think they were exhibits 1, 2, and 3, clearly establish that Cullinane's entering her property. Vicky
Who is Mike
Cullinane
G, by the
swearing
way?
at my client on her property. There's no
Who the hell's
question.
on the phone?
This
There's more than one of them.
through my client's property, swearing at her. That is another separate incident. And they're sitting there removing things. I understand they believe they know the property line, or maybe they had it surveyed, or maybe there's an issue there. Those are obviously not issues before this court. I know the court's conscious of sort of the real estate issue, and that those are
Susan was
proper in
there
Superior
first
Court.
too.
And it's not here to divvy out rights of landowners here. But that type of activity goes beyond just a property boundary line dispute. That's entering onto somebody's property and having direct contact with them, cussing at them. I have serious concerns, and I know the court, I believe, has ruled that it's not going to be considering this outside information. But the Cullinanes have clearly added this West Lynn background check material that's happened years before, because they believe that they want this case to be about a character dispute.
Hourly.
That's what they want here. To say she did that there, must have happened here. We haven't never done this type of activity before. Well, I think the evidence is very clear that they've clearly done it here, which is all that should matter to this court. Erecting a bamboo fence and then getting mad that your neighbor might or might not have placed some things on the fence side that faces their lot, I do not see how that can be a form of harassment. When there is a mutual lot line and a fence is placed facing one lot, that party, it's very normal for the boundary or for the property line that fence side faces to maybe stain that fence, maybe add something to that fence. That's kind of how fences work in this state. I just do not see that as a form of harassment. There was no
It's a Washington thing. You wouldn't understand.
Or real evidence that my client turned off any water. I would, if that had happened, if there was real evidence that my client was turning off their water as a form of harassment,
Thank you.
There's no question. That's a serious matter. But my client did not do that.
Riley
Nor
Martin
did the
clearing
clients
his
have any real evidence that she did. There is a declaration filed by one of the workers that they may have accidentally done that, not at the direction of my client. If that happened, obviously apologies to the Cullinanes, but that was not a form of harassment directed at them. My client took steps after that. I think it's important to identify which line is there so they would know, and that this hopefully wouldn't happen again. My client fully denies taking down any piece of fencing. She frequently has these zip ties and scissors in the yard to hold things down from the wind. And she's, as you can see in the pictures, a very avid gardener.
With
fibromyalgia, ever entered their property. The Cullinanes admit that she's, never said a cross word to them, never made any threatening statements to them. They seem to just be annoyed by their neighbor. And maybe my client is a little unique. She possibly could be a little bit odd. Maybe she sings too loud for the
eccentric is what we'd like to call
they
her.
don't appreciate that. But this is not harassing conduct. The court should enter an order protecting my client from the Cullinanes' clear harassment and deny the Cullinanes' order. Thank you.
Okay, fine.
Your Honor, once again, I object to that. We have a need to go shut off our water. Other than that, we have no desire to contact her. Yeah, we lost our temper a couple of times. We only went on her property once. We have no interest in being on her property.
Ms. Cullinane, thank you. We've given both parties an equal opportunity to present their case, to provide their evidence, provide testimony, provide cross-examination to the extent that it was feasible and workable. We've taken a long time on this case, and I wanted to do that on purpose to make sure that everybody had a full opportunity, given the equities at play here. So the court obviously has great concerns that there is a serious amount of animosity between the parties, and it seems to center, in the court's estimation, on the lot line between the two lots and the activities that both parties have engaged in on their own lots. The court found evidence to be prevalent that Ms. Hopkins engaged in activities on her own lot.
They
that
haven't.
impacted
Terry
the
and Vicky
Cullinanes,
do.
and likewise, the Cullinanes engaged in conduct on their own lot that negatively and adversely affected Ms. Hopkins. The court standard is preponderance of the evidence in terms of making a determination about whether unlawful harassment has occurred and whether
Hey,
an
Mike.
order should issue.
Here we go.
In case number 22-000172, that's the petition of Vicky and Terrence Cullinane for an order of anti-harassment against the respondent, Miss Susan Hopkins. The court is going to grant a anti-harassment order in their favor, but the court does not grant that order to the extent that is being sought by the Cullinanes. The court is not going to include any language referencing anti-stalking. I don't believe there's been a sufficient amount of evidence to substantiate that order itself. Additionally, the court is not making any distance restriction. I find that to be unworkable and unreasonable given the proximity of the two homes to one another, the lot line between the two. I think it more appropriate to order that she does not have any contact directly with Vicky Cullinane or Terry Cullinane. The water issue I see is a portion of the reason for the court granting the order today. That, of course, creates a substantial difficulty for the Cullinanes of having Miss Hopkins or persons working at the behest of Miss Hopkins, either intentionally or unintentionally, turning that water off. The court finds that substantial in the context of the representations that can go towards the belief that Miss Hopkins is engaging in an activity that is meant to annoy, alarm, or interfere with essentially the Cullinanes' ability to enjoy their property. However, with regards to that, the court has concerns about entering any order that allows summarily the Cullinanes unfettered access to the property itself. And so at this juncture, the court is not including any language reference the ability to either ingress or egress for that. The court's position is that must be addressed through the management company that runs those lots there. I think that's the most fair and equitable, thank you, fair and equitable solution in this case. Thank you very much. Additionally, the court is not including any restriction on Ms. Hopkins' ability to have communication with guests of the Cullinanes. They are far outside the parameters of such an order today, and the court's not having any jurisdiction over that conduct today. There's been no evidence presented in my estimation that A, the court has the authority to issue those against her ability to have contact with guests, and B, any amount of evidence that's been purported to show that her behavior, whatever it was, unnecessarily or unlawfully harassed those guests. So the court finds that outside the parameters of the order. Additionally, the court will not award costs here. To the extent that costs are being sought, those should be addressed in a small claims court. That's outside the parameters of this order as well. Just making sure that we address everything that I wrote in my notes. So again, to the extent that the Cullinanes have petitioned for an anti-harassment order, the court grants that, but limits that anti-harassment order to contact with Mr. and Mrs. Cullinane itself, not including that distance restriction. I'll fill out that paperwork. Go over that order in just a moment. So turning towards the case of 22-000188.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I previously testified that a simple anti-harassment language with no anti-stalking and no distance requirement is doing us absolutely no good. It is a useless order. We get no justice out of that.
So Ms. Cullinane, thank you very much. I did give you a long opportunity to present your information and testify.
So in other words,
shut up! Including its hearing today. I guess with that information though presented, the court's orders is as I just indicated. So if that is not consistent or with your desires, you are free to move to withdraw this petition and the court can deny it. But at this juncture, the court is willing to grant the petition to that extent. So in the case of Susan Hopkins versus Vicky and Terrence Cullinane, again, the court has considered all the evidence and testimony presented today. The court finds there to be credible evidence that the Cullinanes engaged in activities that meet the definition of unlawful harassment under Title 7105 RCW, based on their activities engaged in on their property directed towards Mrs. Hopkins, and then again based on their activity and going onto the lot of Miss Hopkins and removing or attempting to remove portions of the disputed boundary line there. The court's belief is that the competing orders are necessary to help assure some amount of I was going to say peace and harmony between the two parties, but at least to
I saw the
facilitate no
husband walk
contact between the
angrily through
parties.
the back.
So in terms of the 188 matter, the court is going to grant the petition of Susan Hopkins to have the Cullinanes, both Vicky and Terrence Cullinane, have no contact with Susan Hopkins. Again, for the reasons I just recited, I'm not including a distance requirement. I don't think that it will be reasonable to enforce. Again, the court denies any costs. Any cost can be addressed through the court's belief is that these orders are appropriate based on the evidence presented today. And to that extent, that will be the order of the court. So if you just give me one moment, I'll fill out that paperwork. The parties will receive copies of those orders today, and we can go from there. So give me one moment just to complete the paperwork.
Wow, they both got what they wanted, kind of.
I gotta say that Susan came out on top as far as that goes. To me, he did say that Terry and Vicky both did basically what would be defined as
smiling. Look at her smiling. She's
this Bradley dude, though, man, I do not like him.
Huge loss on Vicky and Terry's part for sure, because they wanted all this language included.
Yeah.
She's basically saying, Judge, what you just said is garbage. You can't, this is nothing. It's a useless piece of paper.
I'm kind of surprised. Like, I don't think they're going to do a lot of words with. I think they're going to kind of keep that open-ended because of the vicinity between the two of them. I would
Yeah,
think.
they're too close. They live too close together. Can't really.
If you put in a bunch of rules and stipulations as far as that goes, they could be in there fighting this weekly, pretty much.
Yeah. They'd be constantly going to jail, constantly calling the police.
Yeah. $2, thank you.
$2 cash. But yeah, it was either push and neither one of them get anything, or give them both the same thing. It was one of the. It had to be one way or the other.
Well, they got the same thing, but I still say that Susan gets the dub.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because there's none of that stalking stuff. There's none of that. I mean, the things that they could have really nitpicked her about. So
I was definitely on what we found out is Vicky's. Her name is Vicky. We still don't know who Bangs McGee is here, though.
She's there for oral support
under the table. We never did get to hear from the Amish fence builder.
Yes, the one that has. Oh,
Verna,
that guy
what is
had
the term of the order that you are entering on our behalf?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Go over the paperwork itself here in just a moment. So
there was a shirt open guy, but they said the contractor had some shabby work and that there's a fight going on to get him paid, I guess. So they're saying he's biased with his stuff.
Well, I did hear, I believe that she had said something about the fact that he couldn't do it properly because of the cliff.
00172.
Yes.
Vicky and Terrence Cullinane versus Susan Hopkins. Again, this order restrains Susan Hopkins, protects Vicky and Terrence Cullinane. The order is effective immediately and for 1 year from today's date. That's going to be the order of the court. They're going to be 1 year orders at this time.
Ooh, 1 year.
The restrained person and the restrained person's lawyer both appeared today via video. The protected persons also appeared via video as well.
Protected persons.
Relationship between the parties are neighbors. The court is issuing an anti-harassment protection order. The general restraints are that the respondent is to not cause any physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or non-consensual sexual conduct and not to harass, threaten, or stalk the protected persons.
Oh,
Again, Ms.
what's the
Hopkins is to
husband
have no
doing?
contact, including non-physical
gonna go show
contact,
us?
directly or indirectly through
Take
third
us
parties.
outside, Terry.
He's like flipping her off
Regardless of whether
outside.
those third parties know of the order, except for service of court documents with the protected persons. Again, the court's not including any distance.
He's like, give me this computer for you
restrictions
say
on the
something
order
else.
as well. For service, and everybody has appeared today. I'm assuming we're going to accept
He's
service
done.
of the orders today, having provided full notice of them remotely. We can email or mail. So the court is going to indicate that the restrained person, Ms. Hopkins, is present today at the hearing when the order was issued and received a copy, but she will receive a copy by email or service. So dating it today's date and time, I dated it September 6th at 10:56 a.m. So that is the
You will not control my destiny.
And if the court needs my email from my client, that works as well, Your Honor.
That would be wonderful, counsel. I'll just direct counsel to provide that to the bailiff if we could. Oh, okay.
Your Honor, if the park
Yeah,
manager.
we could email them directly. So, and Miss Cullinane, go ahead and give me a moment, please. And Madam Bailiff, if you can confirm.
Oh, she's
how
behind the
will
scenes,
serve for today's
trying
hearing.
to
I
say
didn't mark
something.
that subject.
Yeah,
so I
or
just
Your
need to have the
Honor.
Bailiff verify how each party received service today. So, as to 22-000188, the court grants the anti-harassment protection order, Susan Hopkins versus Vicky and Terrence Cullinane. This will be a 1-year order. It protects Susan Hopkins and restrains Vicky and Terrence Cullinane. The court is marking the same boxes that the protected persons appeared via video today. The protected person's lawyer also appeared via video, and the restrained persons, the Cullinanes, appeared via video as well. The relationship between the parties is they are neighbors. The court grants the anti-harassment protection order. The same provisions are going to apply. No harm provisions as to the protected person. Have no contact directly or through third parties with the protected person. Again, the court denies any distance restriction or requirement here.
Just
Your
his
Honor,
face.
if park management is unwilling to shut our water off for us, how are we supposed to get our water shut off when we need it? Because they're not always willing to do it.
Why do you need it turned off?
So, Ms. Cullinane,
Why are you
the
constantly turning your
order
water
is
off and
that,
on?
you restrained persons appeared today at the hearing where this order was issued and received a copy. Of course, apprising you of the order restrictions today.
What am I
And
supposed
ask
to do?
my
I
bailiff
can't
to email
see
you a
on the back
copy
porch.
as well
Oh,
to
look at
ensure
that.
you receive a copy of
Full-
that. I've been
full
told
on
that a
Vicky.
copy of the order itself is going to be available online as well.
Face of an angel.
Lastly, the court is going to sign and date this
Sweet,
order
sweet
as
lady.
September 6th at 11:01 a.m. and I'm signing that. Ms. Cullinane, to answer your question, the court has already made a determination about the ability to rule on or
Vicky
order
looks like a man with a
ingress or
wig
egress
on.
for the water. That's something that you're going to have to work out with the property management company there where your home is located.
Not helping us. So now we can't shut off our own water.
Ms. Cullinane, I understand
Why are you
your
cutting it off
frustration
and
and
on?
the court's order does not completely comport with your requirements and your request today. I recognize that, but the court's order is what the court order is based on the information and testimony provided. So that is the order of the court today. Madam Bailiff is going to distribute copies of those orders. Does any party have any question about the orders themselves?
Yeah. Why is it so important to cut
No,
off
sir.
your own water?
Thank you.
Hearing nothing today. Thank you, everybody, for your participation today. Your
There's
information
something we don't
provided.
know about that
That is
area.
the ruling of the court on those orders. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I can't
Wow.
believe we got to see the entire thing.
Hey,
Thank
ladies
God.
and gentlemen still present on the Zoom hearing and in the gallery. Thank you, everyone, for your patience
Oh, has
today.
Mike been waiting?
Opportunity to hear those two hearings, but I am
Mike
going to
isn't even
take a very
involved
brief
in that.
recess.
Oh, that poor dude, Mike. I'm so sorry.
Poor guy.
Yowza. Guys, seriously, anybody in the chat? There's 115 of you. Do you guys have to turn your water off a lot? Is that a thing? Are we missing something there with that?
Maybe if you're doing like repairs, sure.
Or if
By the way, that stream ended 16 minutes ago, but it didn't throw us off.
Nice. Must be they saved them then.
We got lucky on that one.
That was a very interesting case and took us the entirety of today's We Got a Case. I love it. Very good. Listen.
I saw you had licking in the background, by the way, and I watched licking all morning. They were hearing all kinds of cases this morning. There was a DUI one with Stansberry, all kinds of things. So licking is really live around 9 o'clock in the morning.
They were messing with me getting up to that because I had no idea how long that was going to go. So I had licking ready to go, but they kept like 15 minutes straight. There would be a quick shot of the empty chair and it'd go away. It was only on for like 15 seconds. They did that a bunch. Well, it looks like my water's been turned off by mistake because of the layout of water mains.
Yeah, that's not like you're not constantly going there and cutting it off and on yourself. If you're replacing a toilet or fixing a leak or something like that, sure. But it's not something you need to do often at all.
Yeah, when you leave for vacation and stuff, like I kind of understand that to an extent, sure.
But not daily. They had to they're cutting the water off and on daily.
Yeah, like when you've got an issue, when you got to go cut it off. The thing is that if they had a true problem, they could still go cut it off. No.
Yeah, they said that. That was the reason they didn't set up any parameters as far as them being able to get, they have unfeathered access to the water. It's not like there's a moat around the house, like Loud said,
Courtney, every single one has that.
Yeah.
Every
single one.
Yeah.
And
that down in the corner there.
Right. And that goes towards, say you're a plaintiff or a defendant, you're not allowed to record the proceedings and use it in the future for something else. So it's protecting the people that are there, but it's not protecting anyone's privacy. And these are public courtrooms, and everything going on is for public consumption.
Yeah, we did a lot of digging and getting info on that stuff before we even started this. Yeah, just weird. I don't know about the water thing, but boy, I was totally on who we thought was Terry at the time. Totally on the side the beginning of that.
I was waiting for that monster Susan to say something. And then she does, and I'm like, well, she seems like she's, got it together. She didn't seem nutty.
She didn't seem like she was putting it on either, like trying to be too nice, and then she threw in there that she was a high school teacher.
And then the two of them were constantly like up here. Like you could tell they were very easily agitated.
Yes.
Very confrontational. Yes. And Susan was there first. So
I think the quote of the day, though, the best quote is that it has been their dream for 50 years to move into the trailer at the trailer park.
Near the cliff that's sliding into the ocean.
Yes.
Gale Force wins daily.
Yes. Sounds like a lovely place. Sounds like a place I dream of daily. Guys, thank you for joining us. It was a great, we got a case. Very rarely do we have one whole case for the day, but
look, we did it like the pros today, baby. We knocked it out.
Love that. But it's fun doing it live when we catch things, and just makes it that much better.
And we appreciate basically the entire time, over 100 of you here the whole time. And we appreciate that.
Yeah, great crowd.
So much. We also would love for you to leave a comment and a like. We need those. It shows interaction and gives us a blessing upon blessings. Creed, we'll be back at 4:05 for We Got a Chase. 2 for Tuesday times 2.
I'm telling you, it's a double shot of your favorite 2 for Tuesdays.
Listen to the man.
Colty's back and took that comment down for me. What a good dude.
Colty said no more comments with peace and love. Peace and love. Until next time, goodbye.
Over 100 people for 1 hour. You wasted 100 hours.
Facts.
Colty, stop.
Colty is really trying to get comments up.